I am here today with Mr. Marco Minnemann. Marco is one of the most gifted drummers in the world today and the most sought after. And multi-instrumentalist, I should say. We know him as a drummer for the most part, but there is so much that Marco does. He has recorded and performed with the likes of Steven Wilson, Alex Lifeson, Paul Gilbert, Joe Satriani, Jordan Rudess. The list goes on and on and on. Just got back from doing shows on the cruise to the edge with McStine and Minnemann, guitarist Randy McStine, of course. And now he is ready to release the latest Aristocrats record, which we always look forward to. The Aristocrats album titled The Aristocrats with, I want to say it right, with Primuz Chamber Orchestra.
Primuz Chamber Orchestra.
Primuz, okay. It's called The Aristocrats with Primuz Chamber Orchestra, and it's set to be released on June 3rd. And man, it is a pleasure to have you, Marco. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be on your show. And yeah, wow, that sounded actually like quite a collection of events. And it's true. Yeah, I did a lot of things, and I'm doing a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. It sounds that, it's kind of funny when people go like, oh my God, do you have actually any time left during the day? But yes, right. It's just like, because see, I do a lot of productions, but it's not like that I'm working myself to death. Other people go to work and I'll do maybe, let's say, 3 to 4 hours music a day, and the rest is fun as well. And music is fun too. But yeah, and then you look back and you go like, oh wow, I'm actually on 55 releases this year. And you go like, how did that happen?
Yeah, seriously. It's insane. Everything I'm researching your entire career, the things I didn't know, and it's like there's all, I've spent hours doing it, and there's still, I could spend another hour after we talk and still find more. It's pretty great. It's pretty great. You keep busy. You're on the cruise to the edge with so many great musicians on that cruise. I don't know how or why I missed that. Mohini Day you play with, crazy bass player. Nick DiVirgilio, who we know from Spock's Beard and many, many other things. On guitar, we know him as a drummer as well.
Yeah,
for the most part. So that had to be pretty cool. Did you and Nick have a little drum battle?
Absolutely, we did. And it would have been foolish if we wouldn't have kind of taken that advantage, So
absolutely,
what we did, see the McStine Minnemann format, we needed, a few musicians to kind of, complete our band, obviously, for the live event. And and Nick obviously fit in perfectly because he is, like Randy and myself, a multi-instrumentalist. And I guess, it really projects in the music and the performance, because everybody of us has musical ears and listens. There's like never really kind of a thing where somebody overplays really on just to showcase a certain instrument. It's always for the duty of music, and so and that completely showed. And I guess, we really did, like, you see, usually when we kind of go off stage, you know how it is maybe, and it's like, there's something wrong that needs to be improved or this and that. With the McStine and Minnemann format, we felt pretty confident, I have to say. And Randy and I both were kind of going off stage and going like, hey, that actually worked out well. And so thought Mohini and Nick as well. So I guess, we had a cool thing. And yeah, to go back to your question, I think it was great to play with Nick, and it continues to be, the same band. We're going to play a festival just in a few days, coming days, on the 22nd in Banning, Southern California. Nice. And we're looking forward to it. It's a band that feels safe. It feels musically balanced and just great. There's like a great pace, of musicianship and and also showmanship a little bit here and there, because you have to kind of design the show and find like, the right pace, to kind of not lose the audience, And so it completely works. I think the songs and the musicianship is strong enough to carry this. And so thank you.
Yeah. It's and McStine and Minnemann, the records are tremendous. Can we expect more work in the studio, a studio record?
Very much so. We're finishing actually our third album I think in August. So that's gonna be done by then, and then we're gonna look for a release date. But no, it would be foolish not to build on that foundation. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because it's
Yeah.
it's like I say, those are tremendous songs and releases. Those
Yeah.
two records are great.
Thank you.
The Aristocrats, always exciting, always new and funky, and explore it. I mean, you guys explore your talent so much in that band.
Thank you.
It's really exciting to see. Now you're revisiting some songs
Yeah.
on this record with an orchestra. How was that idea first conceived? Who brought that up, and how did it all come about?
It's an interesting story because we were not planning at all on doing something like that. It was absolutely not on our agenda. But the orchestra itself, with the arranger, they picked one of our songs and did actually an orchestral version, like completely an unsolicited kind of cool thing that they had in mind.
Wow.
And we found it online. I guess our manager, Riccardo Capelli from Italy, I think he found it online. He says like, hey guys, check this out. Look what I found. And we looked at how they performed the song. It was Culture Clash. And we were immediately really almost like taken by it. It's like, holy shit, those guys are really good. Yeah. And so then we got in touch with them and presented the idea. I don't know if it was us first or them first, but the idea came up as like, how about doing more songs, and what would be the cost involved and the timing and schedule, and we did it, and I think it came out really beautifully.
Yeah. Oh, it sure did.
Unexpected, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's
we're like a trio format, like pretty much the smallest band you can really have.
Right.
Like trios, but trios are always cool because
oh yeah,
you kind of never really run the risk to kind of have overproduce things when you play as a trio. Everybody can shine on their instruments.
Yep.
But so now we did exactly the opposite, to go like, all right, let's be like with an entire orchestra.
And I thought that you guys are, I mean, you really embrace the trio thing. And I know that when I listen to the Aristocrats, I'm gonna get massive bass playing, I'm going to get massive drumming, I'm going to get massive guitar playing, and it's it's all going to be a cohesive thing. There's never anybody in the background, although the mix is perfect. I mean, it's just, I hear everything. And I really wondered when I saw that you did the orchestra, I wondered, how is that mix going to be? Will one thing stand out more than the other? It's a difficult balance when you have that many musicians going.
Yeah. It was not an easy production. It came together nicely and it sounded good right away, but it was later on in the mixing stage to kind of see like, okay, how do we find the right balance, that it sounds cohesive and that something beautiful comes out. So that took a little bit, but I guess we got there, and we're all very proud of the album.
Yeah, and then the mix is fantastic. I was really not surprised. I don't want to say surprised, because I know that you guys are experts at what you do. But it's really, really it's exactly what I would want from it, which is great.
Cool.
Have you ever worked with an orchestra before in this kind of setting?
Not in this kind of setting. What I did before was I had a big band actually on one of my DVDs, and it was no less than the Buddy Rich big band, the original Buddy Rich guys. So it was sort of an orchestra, since there's horns involved and everything. It was a big band setting, and so I am aware of how to play with a big band and how to kind of do a mix. This one here, what we did with the Aristocrats, though, that came like together differently, because it was like basically just conceived as a studio project. It would be interesting to hear that, to take that live on the road, but I guess apart from a few events, you couldn't travel like that. It would just you would go bankrupt.
like ELP. That's what it reminded me of. I guess they kind of went bankrupt back in the day when they did.
Who was that? ELP, is that?
Yeah, when they did the Works. And they did the football stadiums. I actually was at the show at Soldier Field in Chicago. For the Works, they brought an entire orchestra.
Wow.
You know, and trucks and trucks of equipment, and they didn't do well on that tour. But kind
Yeah.
of broke the band.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
So
That is what it
yeah,
looks
yeah, one of my favorite
like.
bands, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, you don't want to do that. But I did think, you know, you guys are coming toward me in Chicago here. You're playing Reggie's. You
Yeah, we
got
played at Reggie's, many
yeah,
times. Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
You got a full tour. You got tour dates. Do you ever think about bringing a couple of pieces, just to give it a little bit of flavor? You know, maybe for musicians or somebody locally.
Yeah. You mean like, some orchestra
Yeah,
flavored kind of thing, from
violin, cello, you know, a quartet or something like
it
string
would be
quartet.
great, I mean, sometimes, we would have guest musicians, if there's like somebody who really loves the album, goes like, hey, I'm a classical player, and especially when you're in Chicago,
Right,
something like that, there is like an array of good musicians, definitely where we can, basically have like fun with
right.
and yeah, that's true. It's actually not a bad thought. I don't think we made really plans so far with that, but that's a
Yeah,
good to consider. Yeah. See,
yeah.
thanks for the idea. Trademark to you.
I would love to see that. That would be a lot of fun. You know, and you guys are so much fun. That's the other thing is, you know, a lot of times in the progressive community, I think, and you might have seen it on the cruise, it's a serious, you know, you guys are serious musicians. And there's a lot of seriousness a lot of times in progressive music because you're very serious about what you do. But at the same time, though, the Aristocrats kind of break that line. Even with the name of the band, it's based on humor. So you guys, I mean, it's always, you know, it just looks like you're having so much fun out there.
I think there's nothing worse than a musician who takes herself or himself way too serious, and that's like, sometimes the risk you run with like prog bands, that like there used to be a time when everything became like pompous, almost like standoffish,
Right.
It's like, we're the kings up here on stage and you're the peasants down there in the audience, right? and then also like, towards other bands, oh, these guys are shit, we're better, this kind of stuff, right? And I think, that needed to be, kind of corrected in a way, and us, the Aristocrats, we never kind of, took ourselves like too serious. We have fun on stage. We are playing with the audience and not like, separately in front of the audience. It's like basically we have a bond together. When we go on stage, we work together. You got to work together with the audience. It's an energy exchange. If you ignore the audience and just do it like your own thing, that's, I think, that never really worked.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I'll tell you, it is a lot of fun. It's so great. Now, you know, for people who aren't aware, the Aristocrats studio records have 9 songs, 3 from each member. That is a thing that you do, and each, you know, 3 songs written and by each member. That's what you bring to the table in a studio record. This record is no different. There are 3 from you, 3 from Bryan, and you know there are 3 from each member. How did you choose the songs for this record? You know, did you choose them each on your own? What would, you know, adapt to orchestra best, or was that a group think?
It was actually this one kind of a little bit like group thinking. Obviously we kind of picked each of other songs, and not each of us, each of our own songs, then brought them to the table, thinking about like, okay, this could sound good with an orchestra, and then we would get like an input from the orchestra and see like, hey, we like to do that, or we like to do this rather. So and so it was kind of a mutual thing, to see like, with the arranger, what he thought could be done, like for songs that were pretty difficult. One of my songs was like Stupid 7, that song, because it has like a pretty fast, metal punk kind of vibe to it, and but also with facility and a lot of odd meters and and some fast notes here and there and staccato note playing. So as you know, like, string instruments, they react a little bit behind, so it's like one of those things, or woodwinds or stuff like that. When you have that, when you play like fast notes, you have to play a little bit ahead to kind of make it on time with the airwaves,
Right.
So that song, I think, that probably kind of took a little bit, because there's a lot of kind of fine little, tunings going on and delicate moments. But we did it, and that was cool, and then there are like songs like Bonnie and Clyde, for example, from Bryan, or Last Orders from Guthrie, for example, that really, have like a lot of space, where the orchestra could really, kind of, shine and kind of, well, not that they couldn't shine in the other thing, but where they had like a lot of space to work with, that was good. Yeah. So I think there's a healthy balance somewhere in there.
Yeah, it is, and it adds to the adventure of the record. There is an ebb and flow, and there is that atmospheric thing where you let the orchestra soar. It's not just an Aristocrats record, really. It's, it is a group effort, and that really shines through. It really does.
Yeah. Thanks.
When you bring those 3 songs to the table, are they finished? When you come in, do you have a demo with the guitar, and you play your guitar, and wow.
We have each of us are doing pretty much complete demos.
Wow.
So nothing is really left to chance. We are all individual songwriters and producers for these songs.
Wow.
So
and multi-instrumentalists.
And instrumentalists. But the thing is, obviously in the studio, we then let the other person play those parts and give their own take on it. It's like not that set that you tell them exactly what to play.
Right.
Obviously the themes, that need to be kind of played as composed will be executed that way. However, we make sure that there's also time to stretch out for like a bass solo, for a guitar solo, for a drum solo. So we write for each other, if that makes sense. So with each of us in mind, so what would Guthrie play? So when I kind of write a song, the last thing I want to do is like have Guthrie play my guitar solo or something like that. It would be that would be foolish, So I think we kind of already have our sound in mind. It would be ludicrous to tell like, hey, Guthrie, play my guitar solo. One of the best guitar players in the world, right?
Right. Exactly. Right.
He has to bring a style in, and so we make sure that that they like to play what we write. So for each other, like we don't want to torture each other, or like just we want to have fun with each other, right? So when I write music for them, I think like, ooh, Guthrie could really kind of do something cool over here, or Bryan has like a really cool bass line, probably he can add to that. So that's what that really is. And then we never really actually have a moment where we discuss what song to use. We never really come with too much material to then kind of pick and choose. We mostly for the albums come with like set 3 songs, and those will be also the songs to be agreed upon. So it's an interesting concept that works.
It's really cool. Because you would think that somebody's gonna say, man, I just don't like this. This is just not working for me, or and you have to have a whole cache of songs to bring in, so you can get 3. Something like that. And the way you explain that's a band. I mean, that is a cohesive band. That's the way it's supposed to work, right?
But it's also like a recipe to stay out of trouble, so because how it is, when you have like one strong songwriter in the band and other people feel kind of inadequate maybe or something, then it's a recipe for disaster. So with us, with the band, having this balance and agreeing upon right from the get-go, right from the first album, that each of us brings in an equal amount of material and acts as the producer for that material. It's actually a very satisfying and democratic way to kind of deal with things, I would say, right?
Yeah. It's almost like a mini solo album for each of you. In one thing, but it's not solo to where, you're doing everything. You have, your part, and you have a great band backing you. It's great. It's got to be very satisfying as a musician, because I think a lot of people break from their band do what they want to do, quote unquote, as a solo artist. So you're getting to do kind of both things. So exactly.
Great. So there's there's a great mutual respect for each other and friendship, and also, you know, that projects into the musicianship, I guess. So yeah. I mean, obviously it's not always easy to kind of, when you're with a band for that long and you go on the road and you live in the same tour bus, in the same hotels, and kind of hang, you know, you kind of need to need to adapt to each other's quirks, you know, they have, right? And like, it's therapy, isn't it, you know?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
You know, definitely. With the orchestra, did you play in the same room? You know, when you know, getting those ideas down, to, you know, kind of teaching them the material, you know, all those little nuances, all did it digitally, like kind of like we're doing it now.
We did. Well, obviously, you know, the thing was, well, not obviously, because, you know, but we decided to kind of do it as a remote production. Those guys were in Poland and we were all over the world, you know, because it was done during the pandemic. Nobody could travel by that time, you know.
Okay, right.
So it was like, you know, that's when the main recording sessions really happened. It was really basically a gift to our fans, and also like a musical effort to overcome the pandemic, you know, to kind of deal with that space we had, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so short answer, no, we were not in the same room.
Right. Well, they were. That's kind of cool. You know, you see the video, and you know, I'll post a link in the description here.
They were in the same room. The orchestra was in the same room.
Yeah, which is, you know, in the pandemic, that was not always possible either.
I was just about to say, huh?
Yeah, so that's pretty cool that they got to do that and be a part of this and put it all together. It's pretty great. Biggest challenge of this record, coordinating that orchestra?
No, because it was done, you know, from one source. That was like Wojciech, like he was like, you know, the arranger of the orchestra, so he kind of, you know, kept that whole kind of operation under control, or on schedule, on his thing. And well, you know, from our end, it was really, I think the biggest challenge was really just agreeing on the mix, on the final mix, because, you know, the orchestra had a say as well. And if there's like many people, you know, who kind of, you know, too many cooks a little bit, but you know, so that was the biggest challenge. It took a while to really agree, you know, on all mixes, that everybody was happy. So that was like a thing that with the Aristocrats as a trio would be obviously very, very simple. You know, we have our team, we have the guys, you know, who, our engineer, Forrester Savell, is fantastic. So he already kind of knows our language and our ideas and what we're looking for. Yeah, with the orchestra, that was a little bit different, you know. So, but it all ended in peace and with happiness. No, it was never a tension or something like that. It just took a little bit, you know.
Yeah, no bloodshed.
No. Not at all. It was great.
What has been, you know, you've done so many different things and so many different formats and places, and, you know, the different ways of doing it. What's the most difficult gig you've done?
The most difficult gig I've done, you mean like musically, or just from or personally?
No, we won't go there. We're not going to name names.
I was like, hang on, we shouldn't do that.
No, like musically, it was something that you found like difficult to fit into, or, you know, the music was really difficult for you to play, or, you know, I can't really imagine, but, you know, something like that.
Well, let's stick right now with something very recent, you know, which was a challenge, but it was a fun challenge. So on the Cruise to the Edge, I was playing with McStine Minnemann, right? Mm-hmm. So, and I had like offers of 5 other bands. So, and on the previous cruise, I accepted 3 bands and had to learn a lot of material. So this time around, I only wanted to play with Randy and myself, Nick and Mohini. Right. Now, because I wanted to keep it exclusive, you know, and especially with the format, Mohini is a fantastic bass player and has like the conical, you know, language and all this kind of stuff. And then Nick as a multi-instrumentalist, Randy, I thought like we appear as a band and kind of don't go astray and play like many different, you know, formats on the cruise. Well, little did I know, you know, that I would succumb to one offer that I couldn't refuse, and it was nothing less than the original Frank Zappa band. One of my favorite formats of all time. When I was a kid, I learned all the Zappa material. all of a sudden, their drummer, Joe Travers, who's a dear friend of mine, he said he can't do the cruise. He's getting motion sick. He suffers from motion sickness.
Wow.
So the Zappa guys were reaching out to me and say like, hey, would you like to kind of join us? You know, is it a possibility? And I said like, yeah, it's only Frank Zappa with some of the hardest songs, you know, ever written.
Right.
And I took on the challenge and kind of learned the material pretty much last minute, you know, like 2 hours of Zappa music and all the moments like, you know, like Alien Orifice, Black Page, which I actually suggested in Big Swifty, all those really hard songs. And we played it. But that was for me like a thing where I thought like, whoa, because we never had a rehearsal in the same room with all people together. Only like, you know, with Mike and Robert Martin and Jamie Kime, and then like in a different format, I did a rehearsal once just with the three like of us, like Jamie Kime, myself, and Robert Martin. But we were never together with Ray White or Scott Tunis by that time, you know, to rehearse for that material. So we rehearsed it separately, and then had a sound check, and then played shows.
For 2 hours.
2-hour shows. Well, it was each 1 hour, but all pretty much different material. So right. 2 shows, each 1 hour long with different material. So, I mean, and so we did this with no rehearsal, basically only with sound check of what playing material that the band, when they went on the 88 tour with Frank Zappa, rehearsed 4 months for. Right. They had 4 months of rehearsal. And I was basically thrown in on the spot playing that stuff. So, yeah. When that gig was over, I deserved actually a large glass of red wine. It went really well, but that's a story I kind of, you know, always will keep in my heart, you know, because it really went well and it was so much fun. But yeah, that was my, you know.
Wow, it doesn't get more challenging than that, huh?
Yeah, it was fun though. I'm, you know, okay, the thing is, and people were asking me then all the time, you know, from the other bands and also the audience when they saw me, were like, how did you memorize that? But the thing is, I grew up listening to Frank's music, you know, so right. I knew most of the stuff by heart, you know, so it so that made it kind of, I guess, easier, you know, to join in, you know.
Yeah, and Frank has, like the Aristocrats, had his own language. There's a certain style, and you know, there's a tingle to his stuff where absolutely. You know, if you know it, you know it.
Yeah,
and you obviously knew it really well, so it's pretty cool. That had been great.
That was yeah.
I spoke with a friend. We have a mutual friend in Jason Beeler.
Yeah, Jason Beeler. Oh my God! Yes.
Yeah. Before we came,
I just played on a
track
of this.
Yeah, that's what he was saying, and you know, that's for an album coming out at the end, by the end of the year, he said.
Yeah,
which is really great. That's so cool. And that's a whole other different thing, I would imagine. You know, what was that tune like? Can you give us that kind of?
It was very quirky and fun. You know, it fits perfectly like his personality, you know, because he's such a cool and funny guy, you know, like he has a great sense of humor.
His sense of humor is unbelievable. He's so quick. It's crazy. Yeah.
I think that song he gave me was very well composed, you know, very, very well written, and left me a lot of space. Like, you know, his instructions were really clear. He basically said like, oh, you know, just do your thing there, you know, I can totally hear what you're doing, go nuts. Yep. And when I listened to the song, I was like, oh, all right, you know, I instantly knew what he meant. So there was a lot of, I mean, the roadmap was clear. There were like a lot of things that were written out, but also like a lot of stuff where I could, you know, do my thing and integrate myself. And I think it really took like 1 or 2 takes. If even I think I played that thing in 1 take, and it came out actually quite great. You know, it was like really cool. And I sent it to Jason. He was like, "I fucking love it. It's great." You know, I was like, "Yeah, that's it." So he's a really nice guy. I would like to do more with him, and we mutually agreed on that. He goes like, "Man, let's do like more stuff." Yeah.
That's great. That's good to hear. Yeah, he's a great guy, and you know, just a great musician as well. And
oh yeah.
Yeah, his structure really, again, another guy who has his own language.
Yeah.
His music's very different, and really, really well thought out. It's pretty great.
And I think it's like, also very open-minded view of music. And I guess that's what bands like the Aristocrats also connects, or also the Zappa guys, or what we have with Randy together. See, we come from sort of the same backgrounds. We listen to Zappa, but also to Queen, to Zeppelin, but also to Miles Davis or to Prince, right, or to metal. I have like Celtic Frost records in my record collection the same way as I have, Kate Bush. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think in every genre there's like, depth, that is undeniable. And I guess, we all listen and respect, a musical statement, no matter what it kind of is, so in what genre, if it's kind of being done honestly, then you feel it, and I guess that's what brings the variety together. And that's why also, like, people like Jason and I connect very well,
Yeah, and that is absolutely it. It shines through when you feel it, and you appreciate it and you respect it, for sure.
I can see on your jacket there's a lot of cool stuff going on there.
Yeah, my battle jacket there. Yeah, but I mean, that's my kind of hard rock thing, and but like yourself, this collection of music here is there's nothing you can't find. From world music to folk music to the heaviest of metal. So that's what makes my world go around. I need all of those things.
Fantastic.
It's and you've provided so much. Now, I just had Joseph Michael probably a year ago with the Witherfall record.
That's right.
Again, Marco Minnemann's on drums. I said, no way. You're everywhere.
Oh my God,
Pretty cool. Now, I want to talk about your solo album. Especially Lover's Calling, with Alex Lifeson. And I just talked to Andy Curran because they're doing with Maya Wynn, Envy of None. Maya and Alex are on that song on your solo record.
True.
So it's kind of the nucleus of that Envy of None project.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. When you were recording that, did they ever suggest, because they did a lot of programming and then drum programming and things like that?
It was a very different kind of environment, because what really happened was I had actually Alex over to play on my album. So it was a song that I wrote, but then Alex joined in and brought like so many cool ideas that it became, like, how do you say, like a co-writing, and so that was really that was really it, to be very honest. We never planned like to have like a band or anything like that, and so that's why that album ended on my solo record. Well, and now actually Alex and I, we still continue to work. For example, now we did this thing with Kendall Yates, who's a fantastic songwriter and singer.
Malibu, right?
Exactly, Malibu. Yeah, you've seen it. So that is actually really, really cool. But that doesn't have anything to do with the Envy of None record, Alex really doesn't want to go out on the road anymore, and he made that pretty much clear. Right. And he's just having fun releasing things here and there and kind of, helping people out or just joining in. And so when he hears something that he likes, he plays.
Yeah, that's great.
And I think that's a very cool thing. There's like so much love involved, and friendship, and just like sensibility for music, and so I guess that's really what he wants to do. And I think it's great because he's very open-minded as well. He never kind of stops listening or kind of ignoring the beauty of music. He dives right in. So how certain people, they just stop when their band is over or something like that, and they kind of enjoy their lives on an island somewhere or whatever. Right. And Alex is always searching for new talent and always, joining in if there's something to say. He says it, right? And that's a very mature way of seeing music and enjoying music, because he doesn't have to prove anything, obviously, anymore.
Right.
And it's kind of, obviously he's on a different page musically right now. And because he doesn't want to do that kind of music he was doing with Rush,
Right.
And surprisingly, you know, a lot of fans really, not surprising, and fortunately, a lot of fans really respect that, you know. You will probably on and off get like someone going, hey, that doesn't sound like Rush, what the fuck, you know? But,
right. Yep.
But,
you know, and it was surprising. I saw some of the comments on that Envy of None stuff, and you know, I have the record. It's way different than anything you would expect, really. All those comments were really positive. And I thought, wow, this is great to see, because he is venturing out. He's doing what he wants to do. I respect that. It's great. Definitely.
I agree. Yeah. So, that's
you've done so many styles and things like that. Is there any genre that you haven't played in and you want to play it?
Well, I'm always very interested in electronic music as well, you know. And so, for example, one of my favorite bands are and the only one of the few bands I listen from Germany, where I'm from, you know, I'm from Germany, and Kraftwerk, for example, you know, Kraftwerk, the band.
Oh yeah.
Right? And I just admire, you know, like what they have done for the music industry, you know, basically coming up with a format, you know, that is like purely based on instruments they built themselves, like in the 70s. And so basically the Man Machine is such a statement. I mean, not only the album, but how they describe themselves, being the Man Machine. And then, you know, albums obviously like Trans-Europe Express, Man Machine, Computer World. Those are fantastic statements, you know, for, you know, the music world, or also Radioactivity. So sometimes when I do drum clinics, I take like one of their songs and play drums to it, to kind of bring like a human touch to it and combine it. So I have like, you know, a soft spot for that a lot, you know, and I play a lot, you know, with like very organic bands, you know, but I do have kind of a thing for electronic, you know, stuff. And you know, any time I have a chance to dive into it, to join in for something like that, I happily do that, you know.
That's cool. That's cool. That's awesome. Well, Marco, I could stay here, you know, I got a list of questions. I could keep going and going and going. You're just such a great, talented, warm individual. I appreciate so much that you joined me today.
Thank you. Likewise. Thanks so much.
Tour dates, merch, backing tracks on the website, which is really cool for all those musicians out there who are going to try their best to keep up with everything. Pre-order the new album, The Aristocrats, with Primuz. Primuz Chamber Orchestra.
Primuz Chamber Orchestra.
Primuz Chamber Orchestra. That is the aristocrats-band.com. And Marco, again, man, it was so much fun. I hope we can do it again. Definitely.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Be well. Safe travels. And maybe I'll see you at Reggie's.
That would be lovely. We have a beer then. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Take care.
Thank you. Cheers.
All right. Bye-bye.